make sure that we have a platform for our candidates to come on. I'm a candidate too. To come on the show to talk about their platform, to talk about their mission and vision for Baltimore City. So none other I have with me today is Mr. Sean Stinnett. He's actually a candidate for the House of Delegates in the 41st District. So thank you for taking the time to come on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Angie. I truly appreciate it.
You are very welcome. I see you out there in the community, so you're still part of this whole restoring the village. So I see you out there. You're working hard, and so I just wanted to say I do appreciate all the hard work that you're doing. If you can just tell us about yourself, and if there's anything that I had missed as far as what you're running for or adding to it, just let me know. But if you can tell us about yourself.
All right, thanks. Like I said, I truly appreciate you having me, and good luck to you as well, because I know you're running for the State Central Committee in the 43rd District, which I know it's a tough district, and it's actually a district that I look at it because of the structure that's there with some power players, with Senator Joan Carter Conway and Delegate Maggie McIntosh, and along with Delegate Kurt Anderson and Mary Washington. But any rate, Sean Stinnett, I'm running for House of Delegates in the 41st District. This is something that I've been kind of grooming myself for the last 4 to 5 years on running. Born and raised in Baltimore. I'm a resident of West Arlington community with myself, my wife, Tammy, and my 3 children. For the last 4 years, when I made the decision about 4 years ago that I wanted to run for delegate, I had to say to myself, what are the things that I need to do to really get an understanding and a feel as far as what the district entails, what the district is all about. So what I did was kind of put myself in various leadership positions within the district, so I can get to know the community as well as the community get to know me. And I think that that's something that, as far as every candidate should not just pop up one day and as far as to say I want to run, but what understanding, or what do you know exactly what your particular district that you want to represent, because it's more than just one particular community. Absolutely. So I understand that it's more than just West Arlington. It's all about advocating for folks, and Dorothy Cunningham and her Irvington Community Association, or Monique Williams and over in Emerson Village, and over the folks over in Roland Park and Mount Washington and Ashburton and Howard Park. So it's getting to the point that to kind of understand as far as the dynamics of the entire district. Right. District 41 is very diverse, whether it be in socioeconomically or just race or even religious aspects. There's a lot of course, predominantly is Christian communities, it's Muslim communities, it's Jewish communities. So you have that whole bundle that you have to find a way as far as how everything could be cohesive into one community, one district, and not have continually always have this sort of like separatism or these individual pockets, and you're just advocating for one particular sect of the district. But it's all about just trying to advocate and trying to find ways to bridge those necessary gaps.
All right. Now, one key word you said was that you were kind of forming that leadership roles and position, just kind of, positioning yourself. Can you tell us those things that you did to position yourself for where you're going now?
Sure. It's a lot of different things. I spent about 9 years as on the school family council at Mount Washington School while my kids have been attending there. Currently, I'm the president of the West Arlington Improvement Association, as well as the president of the Liberty Wabash President's Alliance, which we actually, it's a combination of 8 neighborhoods that we're the beneficiaries of. We receive the part of the 1 mile radius slots funds that Plimico gets. Also, I'm a senior member of the 300 Men March core community with that Munir Bahar and Councilman Brandon Scott had founded. I co-founded the Emerson Village Farmers Market. My wife and I also, from that success that what we brought in that particular area, Howard Park had contacted me and see if my wife and I was interested in managing the Howard Park Community Farmers Market. So we do that as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
District chairman for the Boy Scouts. In the past, I've been, president of the Maryland Muslim Council. what else? I mean, it's
I'm
so
gonna
many
run out of
different
paper.
things. Yeah, I mean, it's so many different things. But I think that
Yes.
I have a love for Baltimore City and
I see.
particularly the youth that. And trust me, and I still, of course, make my time as far as for my family because my family comes first. But I just there's so much of deficiencies as far as within, let alone Baltimore City. But when you look at our district, that it's just I that's the energy that I get as far as that I really want to reach out. I really want to touch the community in every particular aspect, and that's what kind of gives me that thrive and that thriving force, that motivation, and really trying to get something done. At least do my part.
Right. Well, it looks like you have a lot of things covered from the public safety to the youth, getting involved with the community. That's the important part. And so I went onto your website, and I love the fact that, and I see it, but I love the fact that it was quoted that you are there helping people gain access to opportunity, and that's very important to not forget that.
Right.
And so I don't believe that you would do that, but most people, I won't say most, a lot of people get into office and they forget. So I love the fact that not only is that quoted, which is an easy thing, but I see it day in and day out for years. So one, kudos and thank you. And the fact that you had all of these positions going on, is showing that you can manage, you can maintain, but you also have a team. And so that plays a major role, a major part. It shows, not even to say team player, but it shows that you have a lot of things in place. So can you talk about your Team 41? I don't know if anyone can see this, but Team 41, he has it all locked down. And I love that because it's on one accord. That's how we're going to get somewhere.
Right. And about the team, like you said, it's Team 41. These are individuals that I met throughout my 4 to 5 years as far as being directly in the community in District 41. And I saw as far as what they were doing within their community. So these are not individuals that, I just called up one day and they were laying on the couch and I say, hey, are you busy for this? No, Absolutely. They were already, I met them, grassroots on the ground as far as actually working. So the first one I mentioned, I didn't have to go far, and that's my wife, Tammy.
Okay.
Tammy, she said, well, you know what, I'm going to kind of, see what she can do because she's been very active as far as with Mount Washington herself. PTO president for the last, not this year, but previous for the last 2 to 3 years, and also active in a lot of things that our kids were doing. From that point, we start from the top with Parise Austin. He's also he plays the role as far as my campaign manager. Very, very, been active as far as in the community. He was very active with Donna Edwards' campaign and so forth. And that's actually how we met. Excuse me. And then we go to Josh Crockett, very young, energized individual. He's actually in law school right now. So he comes with that legal piece that as far as on the things that we need to do. Then you have Ricard Jones. Ricard Jones is, a union organizer, very active, a Howard Park community resident. She's, definitely an individual that knows policy, that knows exactly where we need to look and what kind of certain things or agendas we need to look at. Then you have Ellie Mitchell. Ellie Mitchell and I served on the school family council at Mount Washington, and she's very active with youth and other organizations in the Mount Washington resident. We have Christopher Irvin, who does a tremendous a lot. He's my neighbor. I think a couple of weeks ago somebody had put a post on Facebook and said of you reaching out to your neighbor, and I put a picture of a person yelling through a window. So that's how close we are, because he lives right in back of my house. But yeah, he has an organization called Zara's Right that he actually trains ex-felons on getting their CDL license and other things, and kind of helping them, assisting them as far as getting back into society. And I've spoke at his organization several times and so forth. Then you have, like I mentioned before, Tammy, my wife, and also last but definitely not least, you have Ryan Turner. Ryan Turner and I actually met a few years ago while I was actually field director for before Councilman Chris Burnett. I was field director for his campaign, and we kind of met on the campaign trail. Okay. And from that point, we kind of gelled. He's the associate pastor at New Somnus. Mm-hmm. So I definitely, throughout this campaign, awesome. I learned not to go behind him after he gets the crowd going, and he has that voice, he has that energy. Right. But like I said, all of these individuals have their own identity, right. Not the same. Mm-hmm. It's not going in and trying to dominate as far as the State Central Committee. Mm-hmm. It's all about as far as bringing a team of individuals who are going to be active, who are going to stay, connected to the community and also connected to the legislators, because that's what we have missing as far as within our district. Yeah, that's when it pretty much has been unknown.
That's probably what made me run, because I see that disconnection, and right. It would be a lot better. So there's always that saying, teamwork makes the dream work. And so I love the fact that you have Team 41. I love the fact that you're showing the people what they can get. Mm-hmm. when they vote for you.
Exactly.
So that helps out a great deal when they see order and they see it prior to you even running. So there are times where, and you spoke of the youth, there are times where you've helped me, you've helped with our youth at Mervo and just my children, period. And so I want to thank you, because you go over and beyond. Even getting them set up, what was that, the snow?
The Snowmageddon.
The Snowmageddon. Yeah. But I just wanted to say that it's because of leaders such as yourself that will help move it forward. So we do need to make sure we get, individuals like yourself in office. And
it's all about serving the community.
Oh, yes.
And I clearly cannot, when you talk about Snowmageddon, it was just all about getting with the right individuals.
Absolutely.
And I can't take the credit by myself. It was, my partner Kwazi Ayozi, had picked up. The Department of Transportation of Baltimore City called me and said they needed assistance. Mm-hmm. So I ended up calling, Kwazi. I ended up calling Ben Smith, Ben Grove, Chris Burnett, Christopher Irvin, and then Betsy Gardner. Everybody was just calling each other and saying, Absolutely. Look, can you be here, be there? And we just took care of, and I had to even step in to negotiate to make sure that the kids that we had, because originally the setup was just paying $50 per storm, and that's per storm. So you know how magnitude that storm was. I said, no, at least pay them $50 per day, because we were out there for 4 days. And that's where I was able to negotiate with the city to make sure the students were able to, to get paid the $50 per day.
Absolutely. Now, I guess the question would be why did you choose to run for House of Delegate? Why this particular position?
I can sum it up in one word: hope. And that's something that we lack in, is hope. Because as we were canvassing and knocking, door knocking throughout the district, we've already hit over 20,000 doors. We started last April. So we started very early because we knew exactly what we were up against. Because I had decided to run before this whole big shakeup. I think the floodgates started to open when they knew that, hey, let's move to 41st, let's do this, let's do that. But just me.
So you said there's a mood.
No, I'm talking about when people knew that there was.
I thought they were like redistricting something.
No.
Because you remember they did that years ago. But
I mean, well, that's a topic of what they're going to be addressing as well. Yeah. But I'm saying that when folks had started to see the shakeup, meaning former delegate Jill Carter stepping down, and then Senator Lisa Gladding taking ill, they knew that eventually there's going to be some openings, which forces some appointments, and then pretty much everybody's going to be on the same level.
Absolutely.
I knew, one, because of my last name, being S, and of course I'm right at the bottom now, which
That's
is,
what they say
it's no problem. But I knew that I had to really, really step in as far as to really work hard to make sure that people know who I am and what I'm about. Absolutely. But actually we had to, kind of start off from the very beginning, which when we started, we called it our listening campaign. We want to hear exactly what folks are talking about. Yeah. And what I have been hearing consistently was just a lack of hope. I mean, we can go from Normandy and Wilcox or Mount Washington, Poplar Hills. I mean, a lot of areas, one, either individuals didn't know who their legislators were, and that didn't matter where, what community.
I was going to say, yeah.
Whatever.
Most of them don't even know.
Exactly. But it was just, a lot of people just had no hope as far as in the political process, and that's why sometimes they didn't vote, or if they did vote, they didn't really do the due diligence as far as to do voter education, for themselves to see exactly what. Am I going to vote for the right persons that are really going to advocate for what I need for my particular community? And that was the reason why I really, all in all, and said, look, these folks, I've been on the sidelines as far as that I had to get 2 and 3 jobs just to make up one job. So I'm very, very big on when we're talking about $15 minimum wage, even though that's not enough. But that's a start as far as putting, the right amount of money as far as in people's pockets so they can, be able to take care of their families and come home. And
that goes back to just the word hope,
right, exactly,
like you just said.
Exactly.
So one of the things, now I have, just from me doing Restoring the Village and just pushing out in the community, I realized that I would say some, not seeing the hope of that, of our city, of a lot of things, but also not really being educated on what is a delegate role, a state central committee role, the name. Sometimes it's all about the household name or the name that the incumbent. So we really need to make sure that we educate ourselves. And speaking of the education, I'll probably pass this along to you, but could you let us know the significance of, or the role of the House of Delegates?
Yeah, and a lot of people, and it's unfortunate. A lot of people just don't know, just like you said, because even though when we have done our canvassing, we ask folks, so what are your concerns? And the majority of the time, they talk about local issues, the crime and stuff like that. So it's the legislators on the state, level, the delegates and the senators that legislate as far as those certain bills or those policies as far as that can either, either you can put yourself in a position as far as write something out or write something in as far as to make a sort of particular bill a lot stronger because maybe the penalties of something is not as strict the way it should be. I think the hot topic right now, which we were coming in and we were listening some sound bites on Donald Trump, and he was saying, drug dealers will need to get the death penalty, this and that. But I look at it, no, not necessarily the drug dealers. We have to look at the drug traffickers because those are the individuals who are actually bringing it in. Yes. It's not the folks that's on the corners and this and that. We don't own boats. We don't own ships. So that's what we have to look at and so forth. But yeah, so it's just been, having folks to kind of get an understanding as far as on what we do on that level, and it's all about being transparent. Yes. And that's something that I'm gonna bring to the table that's different. When this, process is all as far as the election on June 26th, we're still gonna go out and continue to door knock. We're still gonna sit there and talk to folks and let them, because we're gonna give them something that they have not gotten before. Absolutely. And they, up until this point, or they only get when election time is coming. Absolutely. We're going to do that. We're going to have town halls. We're going to make sure people's on different listservs and make sure that we find ways to assist community associations that really bring people back. Because, I did a sort of like a poll in my particular area, and literally the average age of attendance with a lot of these associations is 65 and older. And don't have folks and you've been to my meeting at West Arlington. You know what I mean? But that's something that we need to pull in individuals because everybody's busy. Now, I know I'm busy as well. Yeah. But we just have to find a way so we can be a part of the process and really try to make change.
Now, 41st District, can you give us some communities that are in the 41st District in case someone needs to know?
Well, let's start with end to end. The Roland Park.
Look at that.
All the way over to Irvington.
Yes.
Okay, so Irvington is Southwest Baltimore. We have associations with neighborhoods like West Arlington, which is mine, Howard Park, Grove Park, Ashburton, Mount Washington, Cheswold, Falstaff, Edmondson Village, Rognell Heights, Lyndhurst, West Hills, Dickeyville, all of those, those Franklin Town, all just within the northwest, southwest corridor. Forest Park, we all are in the 41st District.
All right. Because like I said, that is very important because sometimes I'm just putting the link. I'm like, go to the MD, the Maryland elect, and I'm like, look it up because it's just mind-boggling that some don't even know who their representatives are. So I appreciate and you going out to be transparent, that you are engaging with the community and educating them on answering any questions that they may have. So that is very important, and it will make them feel a lot better when they see the face. It's not just for elections. So you've started early, and just trying to and the listening to campaign. I love that idea. So that's a great thing that you
got to, because I think at this point, a lot of folks, a lot of candidates is going to bombard homes with mailers, and half the time people are just going to throw it away. However, have that one-on-one engagement, one-on-one FaceTime talk. I mean, you can't beat that. I don't care how much money you raise. I don't care even robocalls and so forth. They
always say the good old-fashioned door knocking is the best.
Exactly. You can't beat that.
Yes. Now, first of all, I didn't know about what is it, the Lazarus Project? That
that's
I have to talk to him because I actually didn't know it was for felons.
It's a combination of things that he does under that nonprofit organization. So he does phenomenal work. Please definitely have him, or I don't know if you have capability to actually go out on location.
I would like to. I actually didn't know, so when I saw that, sorry to kind of be off, but I love that idea because we kind of miss that, our ex-offenders, and just trying to make sure that they get back to the gist of life, knowing what to do, how to get there. We can always say what's needed, but to actually give the resources. So I brought that up because I appreciate having even the resources, and it seems like everybody on your team has a little bit of everything to give. So
they all have different backgrounds, and that's what makes them gel. It's just we all reach out together and have a great working relationship together, and that's the good thing about it, because even though, like I said, we don't always agree, but we challenge each other, we grow.
Absolutely.
And that's a good thing. We won't, if there is a time when I know that they'll make the right choices and not have sort of this backdoor deal that happened with how the two individuals that had gotten selected for it to be delegate.
Right.
But no, they will look at as far as who are the individuals that can really lead the district the way it needs to be led.
Absolutely.
And that's the type of thinking.
That's what matters, because you're not looking like just for your personal agenda. You're looking at everybody, and so even your wife with PTO or PTA, I don't know which one they had. Just to be engaged with the youth, the parents, and the ex-offenders, so you have a multitude of things that are going on, and so that, I believe, helps you stand out amongst the candidates. But that was my next question, is what makes you stand out amongst the others, or what is something about you that you can emphasize on? It's 11 candidates, I believe, right? Okay, so 11 candidates. What stands out? What makes you stand out of the 11?
Well, I can definitely say what makes you stand out is that I'm the only candidate that has, throughout the years, has established relationships and actually has worked within the district throughout the entire district. I'm not an individual saying, look, I'm all going to talk about West Arlington. No, I can let you know as far as either directly or indirectly that you have benefit from as a resident of your particular community, whether it be in Emerson Village, Irvington, and so forth, with the Emerson Village Farmers Market, or even just like we mentioned before, the Snowmageddon. As far as when I had Boy Scouts out there on the East Baltimore and West Baltimore, I even those same scouts that we started a program, which actually myself and a couple other parents that I was the lead on, that actually taught our young scouts how to mow grass, how to do snow removal, and this actually was done through Kai and Falstaff, Cheswall, cross country in that area.
Falstaff, you just brought memories. Right. I graduated from Falstaff Middle School.
See, I graduated from Grove Park, so I was just right by there. So it's a lot of different things, and my washing with the school family council, and like I said, rolling part with my scouts and so forth. So definitely I'm the only candidate that has, across the board that actually has done work directly with the community versus some folks that just have done something, something that was good in one particular community, but that's all they can talk about. That's all the verbiage that they're coming out, and really doesn't know the dynamics of the district. You know what I mean? And this is what I've been preparing for, not because I've just done one thing and I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
But understanding as far as policy, understanding as far as what is. I want to be that individual that really bridges everything, everybody together. We have your pocket of Jewish community. We have your pocket of of certain folks that's sort of middle class, and then you have the economic challenge individuals and so forth. I want to bring that all together.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of great individuals within the Muslim community, like I said, within the Jewish community and the Christian, but everybody's had their certain section, but we need to find ways to bridge that gap.
Bridge the gap. So that's kind of, even with Restoring a Village, what we try to do. So you'll see me like this community, that community, stuff. For now, I got to kind of stay in my district. Right. But you'll see me all over. But I'm going to say, even though I've heard people say stay in your district, it's really hard. I want to say that has really helped me attending. And so I appreciate, and I believe that is what's going to help you stand out. Because even with me, it's like, it's not, hey, I just had this great idea. I made sure I said, hey, I want to start and begin to build. I want to be educated myself. I want to be resourceful. So when people know that you have the knowledge of it and they can come to you, they're going to feel very comfortable, coming. So I have a lot of people just say, Angie, right? But I love the fact that you can go and I'm going to the hearings and going to Annapolis now, and so you want someone who is well-rounded and well-informed about what's going on. Like, you don't need the blind leading the blind, but someone who is actually educating themselves and trying to, like you just said, bridging that gap.
Yeah. I mean, you got to, and I don't, and I hate that talk, and we got to change that narrative when it's saying staying within your district. One, I'm representing Baltimore, so I may live in the 41st.
I don't
represent Baltimore. You know what I mean? You're all over. I don't care. I'm not going to turn a resident, away because they live in East Baltimore, or they live in the 45th or the 46th district. No, it's all about, educating them or getting them where they need to go.
Absolutely.
I mean, I kind of think about like Parent J. Mitchell. I mean, he campaigned every single day, but he didn't turn anybody away as far as when they needed help.
That's inspiring.
So yeah, just keep, I hear it even when the locals saying, folks, staff people say, oh, I need to stay in my lane and stay in lane. I mean, no, you need as far as help any constituent, no matter who they are, no matter where they're from. And that's something that we just need to change. That's something that we don't have as far as within the district, that just really, no matter what district you're coming from, no matter where you live, let's keep it fair, but let's make sure that we do what we do, because like I said, we're here to serve. It's, I know you look at as far as you're looked upon as a leader, but you first and foremost, you're there to serve.
Absolutely. And that is one of the things that I struggle with, and I just gave up because I'm like, I'm still going to go. Now I try to, to restrict it a little bit, but it's really hard when your heart is for making Baltimore better. Right. So how can I say, well, I'm not going to do this? And let me just say, I have probably met some of the best people just from going out of my district, only to find out that they are a powerhouse in my own district. So it's like, you just have to make sure you do not lose that focus, and you don't lose the opportunity to meet people in general. I think it just helps you, and help you get connected. I'm sure, with your Team 41, maybe I don't want to say hearsay or someone referred them to you, but it's all about stepping out and actually engaging with the community, is that you found your team. Right. So I think it's very, very important. I wanted to say, and I don't even have, oh my gosh. I wanted to just open up the phone lines if anyone had any questions. Thank you. I should know about heart. So if anyone wanted to call in, the phone number is 404-436-1277. Again, if you have any questions for Sean Stinnett, the phone number is 404-436-1277. We'll continue to talk. This is a great thing when we have, and I'm going to make sure that we can get more candidates to come in, because you need to know who's representing you and your district, your community. So I'm really excited about that. One thing that I wanted to say, and I don't know how you feel about this, but you can talk with me about it. But school police, and I have to say that because I think this came up. I've been going to like maybe 3 forums now, and this has come up. How do you feel about school police? And do you think it's essential to have that in the schools?
Yeah, it's. I look at it overall. It's a case by case basis. You know, I hear a lot of feedback from folks that initially said no, it's not needed, no, it's not needed. But then those individuals really haven't. You know, either they don't have any children or they don't have children that is at least as of age where I think that it possibly is a necessity. We're talking about in high school and even some in middle school. That we were just talking when we were on our way here, that I remember that I have quite a few good friends of mine that either, you know, they taken my class when I was teaching at Baltimore City Community College, or just we just met throughout within the community. That one school over in Southwest Baltimore, they sent me a picture of a student that came in literally with a 12-gauge shotgun. So that's, you know, we're talking about that type of gun. We're talking about a high school student coming into the school that they were able to retrieve. So, and that's why I said that I wouldn't look at necessarily allowing school police officers to be on sort of like on the elementary level, because hopefully things won't get escalated that it's needed. Maybe have different regions that you have a school police officer navigating through different areas just to make sure that if something goes wrong, they're close by, not they're downtown somewhere and they have to go West Baltimore, East Baltimore, and so forth. But yeah, it's a you got to look at it holistically. You got to really kind of map it out, as well as, you know, kind of see what the community wants as a whole. But really, it's some really neat as far as, you know, a strong conversation about it. Like I said, they definitely have their use. Because when I was chair over at Maryland Academy of Technology Health Sciences Charter School, when we were in the Lamel building, we actually had 3 schools in that one building. And we dealt with one school that was more of the trouble school, which was Diploma Plus. And these were 18, 19-year-old. A lot of them were, you know, I mean, either school or jail. You know, always kept the doors open. You know what I mean? It was, I was kind of worried about, especially with, you know, we had a middle school, high school program. So to have those students interact,
I never understood that.
Right. So it's like, you know, certain things I relied on the school police on being there, you know, to make sure that my students were safe, and even make sure the other students, that connections were safe. So that's why I said that case-to-case basis, we have to look at the dynamics of that particular school or that particular area and say, well, can we justify whether or not having a school police officer there, as well as to be armed within, you know, the school grounds, within inside the school, and so forth. But all the, you know, the police officers, school police officers, all from the top with Akil Ham all the way down, that, you know, very good people, individuals that are in the community, are very active, have wonderful relationships as far as with students. You know, one of my great friends, Kenya Hall, you know, or even the GEMS program, and you know, they have great relationship with students. And, you know, I see, even though they may have something on their hip, but they don't see them as far as that uniform. They see them beyond that.
Absolutely. I brought that up because, well, one of the things was because when I attended your meeting, we were talking about, I think you were signing people up for the Citizen on Patrol. You were trying to form. So how do you even feel about that? Because like John Hopkins are trying to build their own, have their own. But I brought that up because it's very important to discuss that, because I believe also it is a case by case. I also believe that it has been essential, and I'm only going to speak for myself, it has been essential to have school police at the school that, you know, I'm the PTA at Mervo. So yeah, shout out to Chief Ham, because last week or the week before, my days go, he appointed myself and 11, I don't know if it was about 6 others. He appointed us to the school police advisory board meeting.
Congratulations.
And so thank you. I'm really excited about that because, one, I am advocating to keep the school police in our school, because at this moment they're looking at trying to remove them altogether.
Right, yeah.
And I don't think that is very, like, even with I don't know if you probably saw from my post, but some of the students at Mervo and City and surrounding areas were getting robbed. But come to find out, as I posted, it's citywide. So I'm hearing people from Carver and Dunbar, and basically I believe that the only reason we do not have that spilling in our schools and on school grounds is because we have great school police that's in the school. And no, they're not flaunting around with their gun and intimidating anyone. If anything, they're building relationships. They're going to meetings, and they attend our PTA meetings. So I think it's all about engaging in the community with your youth. Sometimes I know they're trying to, I don't know if they're trying to replace them with counselors, which I believe we need both. I don't believe there's anyone to intimidate, but it's back to that bridging the gap. You want students in general to feel safe.
Right. I mean, and overall, in any position, especially when a position you're sort of performing a type of customer service, you want to make sure that you have the right individuals.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's even, where I work at. I mean, I'm always talking to small minority and veteran business owners, but I know that I have to make sure that in individuals that's my bosses, particularly, the governor, have to make sure that I'm able to talk to customers the right way and conduct myself in a certain manner.
Absolutely.
And that's the way we need to look at. I was a student at Baltimore School for the Arts, and I always remember somebody, we had police officers there, on staff. But it's just, I kind of, even I look at that I think that my daughter's school would not be as safe as it is today if there wasn't any school police officer. I mean, we're actually not necessarily school police officer, private, security police officer, because they, my oldest attends the IND.
Okay.
And that's smack dead in around Latrobe Projects. So you can't get nothing where you perceive to be, but it's the whole school, the community are engaged with that particular community. So it's not like, that you will be, scared to stand outside for a couple of minutes of this and that. But it all boils down as far as building those specific relationships that is needed. Yeah. And that's what it's all about.
I love the fact that one of the things that they're trying to also push for, and I think even with the school police and Councilman Shannon Sneed is doing the same thing. I think once you live in the city or in the community itself, you will understand. You can't have an outsider come in and they don't understand. So coming in to be aggressive, that's not going to help. But to come in as a nurturer, that's going to help us. And it will allow that officer or the employee to appreciate that job. You have and I love the fact you just said you have to have the correct person in in that position. I was in office in that position, or it will not work out.
No, and that's how I look at it as far as with this campaign.
And I think with anything.
Right. Because you can't step into this campaign and say you want to run and actually you everybody, wants to put it out there and say, yes, I'm going to get elected. Yes. But you can't come into the, to your campaign just knowing one specific area of the district. Absolutely. You can't treat it, the same, that you treat students over at Mount Washington versus Thomas Jefferson, even though they're two IB, International Baccalaureate Program schools, but you can't treat them the same way.
Absolutely.
So you have to see what the difference is as far as, your teaching style, your engagement style, your everything. You know what I mean? Your different policies that you want to legislate and so forth. You have to see why things are differently. And I think that's what, folks don't really see, because you got to look at the full picture, not just talk about or saying what you're going to do for a certain component of the district or a certain community or neighborhood.
Absolutely. One of the things I'm doing as a candidate for State Central Committee, as I stated, just want to make sure that I am engaged no matter. I grew up in the Park Heights community, so I do a lot and try to support as much as I can over there. A lot of history there, and I just try to make sure that I connect with others. And one thing I love about Restoring the Village Project, for me, connecting with people throughout across the city, it has helped me understand our city even better. And I think that is important to, again, not saying stay in your lot, but you have to know the culture of Baltimore.
Right, you have
to know it. I brought up the school police, kind of was off of the candidacy, but I brought it up because next Tuesday there will be a policy committee meeting at North Avenue at 3:30 p.m. I'm going to myself, and if anyone would like to join, there is an invite on the Facebook page. I'm going to advocate for our school police to remain in our schools. I am on, as I stated, the advisory board because I do understand the gist of some things that needs to be readjusted.
Right, exactly.
So we understand that things need to be reformed, readjusted, or brought up and taken into consideration, but to take it out completely, that's hard for me. And so anyway, the policy committee meeting is open to the public. Again, it's going to be at the school board, and it's going to be at 3:30 p.m. Just trying to support Chief Ham and the officers, all the officers that are in our school systems, just making sure that we be a voice. One of the things that I love the fact that even engaging people. One of the things I love seeing now, I think it's slowly but surely, but we're getting there. I love to see now the community getting engaged. So when there is even with the school funding or anything, people are coming and they're getting engaged. Even when, good or bad, even when our students were getting robbed, the parents came out and they listened. So we want to make sure that we gave that platform, that voice, that platform for them to speak, and that listening, back to that whole listening campaign. We have to make sure we listen. And so a lot of times when I'm going out, I just sit there and I just say, hey, what is it that you want to see? Because we can think we have the answers, but we're not. So we're just servants. We're just servant leaders.
Exactly. But we need to make sure that, even me, at the end of the day, I'm still a parent.
Absolutely.
We need to make sure that we continue to go out to those meetings.
Absolutely.
When there's not really a big issue on the table.
Absolutely.
You need to be consistent. And that's where, I look at it sometimes, and some folks may not, agree with me. They may be, too harsh. But even with the issues that were happening at a lot of these schools as far as with the eating, if you already engaged with your child and at your school, you would already know what's going on and what's failing at that school.
Parent involvement is my number one key. And I try my best to get engaged with a lot of people, wherever I can do to bring the parent involvement. I understand that, parents work. I don't know. I do a lot, and I still make sure that I go to things. And even being at Mervo, it's my child graduated last year. The only time I'm still there because of our term, but we have to make sure we do this just for our children. Period. And look at this. I'm just because it came out. Our children, our community, our future. So I don't know if y'all can see it, but I love that. Our children, our community, our future, and even though my child is out of school, I have a younger child that will be going in. Pray for me. That will be going in. And even if I did not, I have family members. So they deserve everything, and they also deserve us playing a part. There are times where I remember when my father saw me dancing, or he came out to meetings. Children, not to say, I'm only going to say they don't care. They don't care, and they're not going to remember what you bought them. But the time is something that is very vital, very important, and we need to make sure that we, as parents, community leaders, that we give our time and get involved. So I just, again, wanted to thank, not that it's almost ending, but I want to thank you for coming on. Again, I have with me today Sean Stinnett. He is a candidate for House of Delegates in the 41st District. A lot of great things that are going on in the community that he's playing a part, as well as many others. Please just make sure you do your homework and make sure that you get engaged. Go to the forum. I went on Sunday, but I didn't see it till late. So I don't like that. I was supposed to know. But anyway, I love the fact that, you go into forum. I did not see what happened. I got there at the end. So I didn't see the entire forum. But please, we have to make sure that not only get engaged in our schools, that we have to get engaged in going to forums and going to different things that will help us understand who we're voting for and not just voting for the name, the face,
Well, it's even starts way before that.
Oh yeah,
When the one of the things
Absolutely.
that I kind of love being the chair for a charter school was that I can kind of put in my ideas and so forth and had the opportunity to kind of implement them. And one of the things that was missing, I made sure that we recreate as far as the American government or the civics class. And that's where we started. I made sure that during every was National Voter Registration Day, that our 16-year-old and up, to register to vote.
When is that?
You can that's usually in the month of September, October.
Okay.
Or some sort.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, if you're 16 years old, you can register to vote. You're not able to vote until you're 18. However, at least you can instill and say, look, this is a responsibility you really need to consider and you need to be consistent with. And that's something that we did, at the time.
And what's that called?
National Voter Registration Day.
Okay.
Right. And that's where you kind of start implementing and even from before that, when you go to vote, take your child, take your children there as far as voting. They can see you punch the numbers or scan or what, our system always changes every 2 to 4 years.
Yes.
So whatever system, that you do, but you want to make sure that you do those things as far as so you can kind of, implement that it is a responsibility, but also it's a responsibility upon you to do your education as far as, is this, even though if maybe I may not agree with this individual all the time, but looking at his track record, that he's hardworking, that he's consistent, that he's in the community, can I really, can our, district grow with this person? And that's what we're missing right now.
Yes.
That's what even from the candidates that we have, who is actually can say that, that they've been consistent in actually working for the entire district. Not just one particular neighborhood, the entire district.
Amen. I say that often. It's like you can't just talk about one community, and so even with and I'll speak on myself, so it won't sound like you. But when I went to the forum for our district, some people maybe I won't say names, but a powerhouse, a great candidate, a great delegate, and yet they're picking and choosing what communities they want to serve in. And so we have to stop that. And if you represent the entire district, because I had to say, hey, maybe they have separated districts, parts in the district, but no, you're representing the entire district. We cannot pick and choose and have this division because that's what's hurting us. And so when you see that over and over and we keep voting that in, we're giving that permission to do that, and we have to stop that. And then and then complain about it. We cannot complain about it. You need to do, and I will always say it over and over, do your homework and know who's doing what, and not just because it's election season.
Exactly. And that kind of, when I hear you talk about that, I got to think about.
Yeah, I'm trying to say names.
One particular person that I would say that, when we had just, and I say we as far as our Northwest Police District, we just had a change in leadership.
Yes.
And before, it was more certain areas that was sort of more concentrated on as far as the resources and so forth. Now we have a new major, Dion Hatchett, that I think he's done phenomenally as far as what he's brought to the table. And just like you said, he came from the Northeast District. But I think we have the right person because now he just sees as one. He calls this the district Team 600 because it's the sixth. I forget the term of it, but anyway, he calls it Team 600, and he treats the entire district fairly, evenly, and as one community. You know, he's always accessible, whether it being him or his captain or Sergeant Johnson. Everybody's accessible, and that's the gap that we've always been having as far as with that community and police relationship. Because, like I said, there are a number of bad apples, you know, in the mix that we need to hopefully be able to, you know, spell out. However, it's just we have to sit there and get to the point and be able to work with those individuals who are good or doing good work. Whether being, like I said, with Major Dion Hatchett, we're talking about Chief Melvin Russell. I mean, you know, these folks, and hopefully we have the right commissioner in place. If he's, you know, be able to exceed beyond 3 years, hopefully, you know, we get to that point. But I'm just hoping that, you know, we have the right person, because, you know, we you know, my family sort of, you know, has a very strong influence and emphasis, because actually my in-laws, actually my sister-in-law, her father was a former police officer, which he actually died in line of duty, and they named a school after him, which is Calvin Rodwell. So we have that connection, and he was the original Officer Friendly. So that side of the family was always accustomed to knowing that just the basic, the really where you know, a relationship as far as between the police and the community.
Yes. I think that's important. And even when we were just talking about the school police, it's all about relationship. Once you form the relationship with the individual, things go much smoother.
Right. Exactly.
And building trust, because right now so much has gone on that we have to build that trust, and we have to actually understand that there's a reason why some people are not willing to vote or to understand. They've been I'm trying to be really nice.
But we have to. But what's missing is this. I can't blame all of them just because it's having the right elected officials in place that's not afraid and willing to go into the community. And that's why, you know, like, you know, a lot of folks, like I said, you know, a lot of people my age and even older.
You have to say that again. Not afraid.
Right. Not afraid. And a lot of folks that are our age or even older, we don't give an opportunity to kind of learn from people that's younger than us. You know, I tell you honestly, I got tired of always, I'm knocking on the door for Chris Burnett, and somebody said, "Oh, I see you got your dad out here." I'm like, that's not my son. You know what I mean? You know, and but the thing about it, what he has kept his word, and actually, you know, as far as his commitment and his engagement in the community, that's what it's all about on any level. Even though that we may be, you know, I'll be in a 90-day session doing the General Assembly as what they're in now, but at the end of that, you got to go back into the community. You got to continue with those relationships, and that's that's what they're not doing right now.
That's what they're not.
You got to keep building that. It's funny that a lot of folks thought that my job was what I did as far as community-wise.
I actually thought for a while.
I mean, what pays me is that, you know, I'm a state worker, so I'm already in that capacity as far as serving the community. But I work for the Maryland Department of General Services. I'm the PRG administrator for the Office of Business Programs. PRG stands for Procurement Review Group Administrator, and that pretty much entails that, you know, I manage a lot of state contracts and projects. I get all of the contracts that comes into the agency, and I'm the one that places the minority business, the small business, and the veteran goals on those contracts. So I'm making sure that I'm giving the opportunities for these small minority and veteran-owned businesses so they can pay bills, so they can live a healthy life and be able to support their family. You know, I have, you know, contracts that are big. Of like one contract we're working on, the Enoch Pratt downtown. It's a renovation project. It's a $94 million project, and I made sure that we need to, you know, get our fair share, you know, because that's what Parent J. Mitchell, that's the reason why he put, you know, this type of program together, because before we wasn't getting our fair share.
Absolutely.
So we need to get our fair share of this, you know, percentage if we're not able to put ourselves in the prime status as a prime contractor.
Absolutely.
So that's what, you know, I'm coming in with that type of experience as far as negotiating and battling with certain people that are not favorable with these type of programs. So I'm coming in with that experience, as well as I'm working for DGS, and we manage all the state buildings. So when they say, oh, I don't know these back doors and this and that, I already know the back doors. I already know where the bathrooms are and so forth. So, so it's all about, it's not just you getting a person that they just did one or maybe two things in the community. You're getting a seasoned, very well experienced individual that's ready to serve and ready to step up. For the district.
And you prepared yourself for this time.
And understand and know that because of my team, how strong this Team 41 is, that when we sit at the table, it's all about placing and all about creating that right policy, those, legislating those right bills for the district.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we can't say. What are bills that really benefited the district in the last few years? Not necessarily, yes, Baltimore City and the state of Maryland, but what are the bills that are focusing on the district itself?
Now, I have a question. When I say question, I have something for you. So I was just reading. Wow, I can multitask. I was reading. Now, we're not going to worry about the people that are going to vote for you or the people who are not going to vote for you. But what can you say, if you're looking at camera, what can you say to the undecided why they should vote for you?
Well, one of the things, at least I'm hoping that the undecided are registered to vote.
Yes.
And that's something, if you're not going to be a part of the process, I don't care if you're Republican, independent, or so forth. We got to, at the end of the day, once I'm there to represent you in Annapolis, we got to come together. We got to work. What I can do,
the first thing,
right? And what I usually say to those individuals that maybe sort of on the fence whether or not to support me, or even, I have a lot of great fans that we mentioned, that person's name before the show, that but we need individuals like that can challenge us, because that makes me go home to actually do the necessary homework to make sure that I'm doing things properly, because I know that it's gonna be opportunities that I'm gonna make some people feel good, versus I'm gonna upset some people.
At any rate,
but at the same time, the reason why for those people that are upset, I have to make sure that they understand exactly the process and understanding why I may have to vote a certain way, or I may have to say, look, maybe we just wait on this and so forth. However, that's where the transparency, and that's where just the voter education, just the education as a whole, comes into place.
Right.
So, I give that individual, my background as far as, look, this is what I've done, as far as I wasn't paid to do this, because I have a lot of people that misinterpret, because they're paid to do that particular job. They put that in front of you and say, oh, this is what they've done for your community. No, you're paid to do that.
Right.
All this stuff, what we're talking about, is been a non-paid volunteer position that I've done. That's the commitment that I've already showed, as far as me doing within the city or within our communities.
Right.
So if I'm willing to give up my time and my family time for the betterment of the community, and especially of youth, then that's, to me, that weighs heavily. When I look at or support an organization where I'm not getting the credit, or I'm not the lead.
Right.
I put it out there a few months back and asked, which I didn't really get too many responses, how many people supported an organization or somebody else's idea without you getting the credit.
I just went through that yesterday, but okay. Yeah. you hitting on that one.
Exactly.
You can't do that. That is not. No.
We got too many egos, and that's the problem that we have in the city. Too many egos, too many people that wants to, they're not going to do anything unless it's their idea or it's theirs, and it's always, look what I have done. Well, look at this, look at that. I'm like, come on, it's all about the community. It's all about getting where they need to go, because my joy is their joy. I like I mentioned before. I used to teach at Baltimore City Community College, and I worked with a lot of student athletes. That my joy is seeing them now living professional careers, whether it being on the court or off the court. That's the joy that I want to see.
Yes, that's where my joy come in. That's where my joy come in. Just seeing people grow. us as a community grow, us as a city grow. I had to actually like mute this so it won't come up. So I had one question on my page, and then I have a comment on the other, two comments. So one said, "You a wonderful friend and brother," and another person said, "Great family," and they went, their children went to school with your child. And so just to let you know, again, you came from a school perspective, and then someone that may have just known you, but that shows a lot about yourself. There is one question that came on my page, and I'll make sure that I have that on here. And I kind of going to go back to what we talked about, but it's a question that I try to make sure I answer. Do you support arming teachers?
Oh, no. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, we have to find ways as far as to protect our students before they even walk through the door.
Absolutely.
And our teachers are there, which they have already, really overworked, because we're talking about a teacher that's there to teach, and looking at even, dealing with Baltimore City Public Schools. We're more looking at teachers to how you can manage the class, and necessarily you're walking away from actually teaching.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we need to focus on, as far as how we need to get what the teachers are there to do is to teach, not necessarily manage, but it starts at home, and it starts as far as making sure that, every household, or finding a way as far as that we can tap into those homes, to making sure that the students are coming to school on time and are ready to learn, or finding the resources. Yes, and that
is the key.
Right.
That's one of the things we talked about, even with the public safety and the robberies. Some are getting robbed because they're coming late, they're by themselves. So it's very important to be on time. And speaking of time, it is near the end of our time. I want to thank Sean Stinnett for coming on the show for our listen. Any candidates that want to come on, this is actually our first one.
And before I'd be remiss if you don't mind. I just want to give a shout out to my overall team, Stinnett, Team 41, not just the Team 41 of candidate, State Central Committee candidates, but my entire team, from Stephon Walker, from my brother, Gerald Stinnett, from my mother, of course, my wife and our family, and her mom, and everybody. This is a whole family thing, and Francis Cartwright, who's been phenomenal. I mean, Wayne Frazier, Andre Kane, Plush Jones. I mean, it's just, everybody has been very helpful, and it's just, I definitely could not do it up to this point what I've done, and they've been very, very supportive. I had an event a couple weeks ago. My brother got mad because I didn't say him, but at least I made sure that I say him.
Now.
but just the entire team that's been out there hitting doors. Folks, from the Gwen Oak Islamic community, and especially from the Nation of Islam. I mean, Andrew Muhammad, brother Carlos Muhammad, Bilal Rahman. I mean, all of those brothers, they've stepped up, and they helped me as far as hitting on doors in that Forest Park, or any other time that I called in a couple of weeks ago when they were here, and said that all I got to do is make one phone call as far as Andrew, and
yes.
he's there.
He's
and
awesome.
I really, truly appreciate that, because that's what it's all about.
That is what
it's
all
not about as far as, okay, well, they think like this or that. No, it's about as far as serving the community and being as one. And that's the focus that I have beyond legislating different laws and so forth.
Absolutely. And it goes back to the saying I always have, is it takes a village no matter what. We have to make sure we pull together. If we have that same common goal, that's what's going to move us forward. And so again, I want to thank Sean Stinnett. Before I end, I wanted to say 2 announcements. There is a community design session that it will be March the 17th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. At the Liberty Rec Center. If anyone would like to be on the I guess it's kind of like a planning or a talk session that they're going to have to talk about advocating for the allocating for the youth fund and trying to see how it would be dispersed. There's information that will be out. I have the flyer on our page, but again, that's the community design session, March 17th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then the last thing is March the 31st, we have the Easter egg hunt with the Northeast Police District as well as Northwood Baseball League. And also on the 31st, I will be honored by Vital Magazine. And so they will be giving me a humanitarian award and putting me in their magazine. And it's been a great journey because wherever I'm going, we're all going. And so I want to thank everybody, all of our community partners, everybody who viewed the radio show or just help with resources for our community. Thank you. Without you all, it would not be possible for a lot of things to happen. And it takes every single body, no matter what your background is, your race, it takes everyone. So thank you all for tuning in for the show, Restoring the Village Project. I'll see you all next Tuesday. It's going to be a phenomenal show as usual. Thank you and have a great one.